Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to TV Production 1. New perspective angle today. I got tired of sitting, and so I'll be standing, and I'm hoping that you're enjoying the new view. My back is enjoying not having to sit for 7 hours a day. So if I move a bit or the sound's off, just let me know in the chat. So you can see more of my lovely abode now. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're having a good Wednesday so far. I don't know if it's just me, but this week already is moving by super fast. So hopefully it is for you as well, and you're finding yourself busy and healthy and happy as we will continue on our WeVideo endeavors today. Hi, Julia. Hello, Luke and Dan. Good morning to you all. All right, Leanne and Emily are here as well. Young Lucas, is that your performing name, your stage name? I think it's got to be Luke though. Young Luke rolls off the tongue much better than Young Lucas, but that's just me. I know nothing about that game. Michael, hello and good morning. Oh, 7 people checked in, only 6 people watching. Now only 4 people watching. Cool. So for the folks that are checking in and leaving, that's not good. For the folks that are here, thank you, of course. We'll get moving in just a sec, but pop open another tab, get into WeVideo so we can pick up where we left off last time. I might rehash just a little bit so that we can bring everyone up to speed. And if you missed Monday's class, go check out that link in Classroom for the video on Monday, as it will get you up to speed on some of the WeVideo stuff that we got going on today. We're going to continue today, I think wrap up today, and then get into our first kind of very simple, super simple project that we're going to do using the footage that I put in there for you, and I'll go over the stipulations. I think you're going to find that as far as the video edit goes, it's very reminiscent of stuff that we did in the beginning of the year. All right, it's also not terribly taxing, but my goal is to make sure that everyone feels comfortable using this software, because only then can we get into some of the more complex stuff that I've got planned for next week and for the foreseeable future. All right, so we'll get moving in a minute, give an opportunity for some folks to show up. Do that, and open this. Minimize that. So many things. There we go. Cool. We'll get into that a little bit later. Oh, I don't want to hide it. Oh, I do want to hide it. That's okay. We can hide it. It's hidden. It's done. All right. So how's everyone's morning so far? So far, so good? Halfway through the day, kind of? Nice, Lucas. That's awesome. Yeah, we're gonna get into where we kind of left off. Like I said, I'm gonna backtrack just a little bit, get into some clip management and stuff. Go over some transitions again. Go over some clip modification again. Aiden, good morning. Thank you for joining us today. And then maybe even do a small sample of an edit while I'm going over those things, just to show you what we can do with this. All right, so I'm going to, just like last time, I'm going to bounce on over to my desktop view here. I'm going to check the stream periodically, of course, for questions, but also just to make sure it's functioning properly. I did have a network issue this morning with my broadcasting class. It cut off right around the 35-minute mark, and then it didn't get back on until roughly the 42-minute mark. So in that process, I lost a lot of people. Thankfully, we had our work for the day was done, and we were just kind of hanging and chatting and talking about our show, which will go up on Friday. So let me bounce on over to my desktop here. So if you see the screen kind of move back and forth, it's I'm just checking to make sure things are moving the right way. So I got a notification. Oh, I accidentally exported yesterday and showing people how to export, which is kind of upsetting because I deleted it. Yeah, I didn't want that export. All right, so if you've logged into WeVideo and you're on your dashboard, you should have your recent edit there that we were tinkering around with last time. So I'm going to pop into mine and then get back into my media. Of course, it always defaults to the stock media tab, and just like last time, my stock media is different out of the gate, and it will be every time for you folks as well, but that's good because it gives you a sample of what's in there. All right, so I'm going to go to my media, and I'm going to get into the project media and into the clips that you guys have as well. And so in touching upon a few of the last remaining features with a little bit more detail today, I'm going to assemble just the opening portion of a video project that I'll give you some parameters on a little bit later, because I do want to wrap the tutorial today and then give you some guided structure to these clips. Now, inherently, these clips don't have any sort of connection, which is a-okay. It's more or less for practice and making sure that we understand the software. So I'm going to get into some of this stuff now. So I want to open up my video, and well, we've got 22 clips to choose from, and I found that as I was kind of randomly finding these stock video clips to throw into this project collectively, that there wasn't really any rhyme or reason as to what I was grabbing. I was finding things that were looking pretty, and then of course I was finding some clips that had people in them, just so that there is some sense of a subject and it's not just like scenic things. And the music I found is just royalty free, lo-fi, hip-hop, which is just kind of a good background beat to go to. Sadly, I won't be able to hear any of the audio that I have in my timeline because my speakers are muted, so there's no echo into my microphone, and it doesn't feed into my soundboard, as I have not found a successful way to do that. But I'm going to open up with this clip called Record Player Close-Up, which is really nice. It's just 20 seconds of a record spinning. And I figured that's a great way to introduce what is essentially going to end up being kind of a musical montage of sorts. So I know that if I select that clip and click it once, it goes over into my preview monitor here, all right, where I can adjust my in points and out points by grabbing the handles on either end of that clip. And I'm just going to take the end there. I don't really need. However, I do want to add a transition to this, so I know that I probably should adjust my in point. However, I'm going to show you a way to do transitions manually, all right, in addition to adding transitions from the Transitions tab. And the reason why you might want to do that is it gives you a little bit more control. It also keeps you in your project pane a little bit longer. The less you have to jump between windows, the less time it takes you to go through your edits. And see, just clicking off that, I've already lost that clip. Now, my out points are still there. This clip is 21 seconds long. I'm going to actually just take, I don't know, the first about 4 seconds or so, and I'm going to drag that in to the timeline into video 1. And if you saw that slight hesitation, that's just my brain going back to Premiere, trying to grab the clip from the icon itself, which, as I said last time, you can't do. So a little bit of the brain rewiring there. Once that out point is set, I need to grab that clip from my media pane. And I'm going to zoom in on my timeline just because that view is really, really far. I'm going to close this download tab there too, get a little bit more screen real estate. Okay. And as I showed you before, it's in video 1, and I'm going to drop that track down just so I can see that clip a little bit better. All right, this will give me a better view of that. Now, the one thing that we may have touched upon very lightly, and if I went into more detail, great, I'm going to go over it again, is that once that clip is in that timeline, all right, and that clip is selected. And you can tell it's selected because it's highlighted in orange, and if you didn't select it, well, it's because it's the only clip there, so by default, it's going to be selected. That when that clip is selected, this tab pops up here, and it gives you some options in which you can manipulate that clip. If you want to delete it, of course, you can hit the trash button. It will delete. Keyboard's cues will work as too. So if you hit delete on the keyboard, it will get rid of that clip. Interestingly enough, Command Z is also a shortcut that will carry over. So that is your undo. That's a really good one to hold on to. So far, Command S will also work. So those two shortcuts have been the only two that have come over that I've discovered so far. I keep trying and hoping that they will, as it makes things quicker, but no luck so far. All right, so hope you guys are okay following along at this point. All right, so I'm going to select that clip, and I'm going to have this tab that pops open. Now, I don't have any audio associated with that clip, and while I can't see it on my timeline, I know that because I put these clips here. All right, however, as I showed last time, there is an additional view we can go into, and I'm going to show you that in the next clip that I add. All right, and that's going to be the clip here called Live Band. Now, this is a clip that I know I'm going to want to put a transition between my record player and the live band, which means I need to adjust my input because I can't put a transition if this input is all the way in the front. So I'm just going to go in. Once we're just past the guy, I'm going to focus on the female singer here. I'm going to bring my out point in as well to the point where actually we'll go here, look for what feels good, wait where she turns away, we're going to mark that out point, and I'm going to bring that clip down into my project timeline. Now you'll notice that I can't put it on top of this clip in any capacity unless it goes to the front of the clip where it will replace, all right, the clip, or a menu will pop open asking you to insert and push. And an insert and push is because it's hitting the timeline. So if I escape and do nothing, all right, I can move my timeline here and do an insert and push. Okay, an insert and push at the beginning of the clip, all right, if you select that option, is going to take the clip that's currently there, make room for the clip that you're adding, and then immediately put the existing clip afterwards, kind of like this. All right, so I added this clip at the beginning, and it inserted it here while pushing the other one after it. I don't want to do that. I do want to keep it right after. So I'm going to move it down to the timeline where it's green, letting me know I can drop it there, and I'm going to move it right up against that clip so that they connect together. Cool, so now I got my two clips in there, and we can very simply start to do some transitions. However, I know that with this live band clip, which I really like, nice camera arc, funky lighting, all right, that there is some audio attached to it, all right. However, unlike Premiere, it does not show in the audio track. And that's one of the downsides here, is that we don't have a reference to this audio unless we expand our video track again. So if you click on the expansion arrow here in video track 1, all right, you can go to the last view option, which is a little bit larger, and that's because it shows the audio attached to these clips. So unfortunately, while it doesn't put it in its own separate audio track, it does at least allow us to see it and control it so that we can manipulate it or adjust it if we need to. All right, and you could do that one of two ways. I know that this clip does not have audio, and I know that this one does. So if I want to, I can remove the clip or the audio from every single clip in track 1 by simply adjusting the track volume. All right, this slider right here controls the volume for everything that goes in this track. Meaning if I had this down to 0 and then added a clip with audio, I would not hear it. So this could be really helpful if you are shooting in and around the house and, I don't know, say you got brothers or sisters screaming in the background, someone's cooking dinner, the TV's on around the room, and you don't want to hear any of that, we just want to see what you do, then you can put all those clips in that timeline, lower that slider all the way to 0, and that audio we will not hear, okay? The other thing you can do is select the clips. Like let's say you put 10 clips in a track and you want half of them to have audio and half of them to not. You would need to go into the clips that you do not want to have audio, select them so that the tab pops up here, click on the speaker, all right, and it's going to add this blue line for you to adjust your volume. And that blue line works in one of two ways. You can either keyframe your audio in the clip itself, okay, by clicking on that blue line and adding a keyframe, and then making an adjustment to those keyframes, right? So in this instance, my volume would start at 0, and it's keyframed to rise up to 100 and then play out at 100. All right, the other option you can do is to just very simply bring the volume all the way down. And if you do that, it negates the need for keyframes. So while it is keyframed, it doesn't matter because I've muted that volume. Or very simply, you can just turn it off. Okay, now I don't want those keyframes there at all, and I don't really need the volume, so I'm going to lower that volume all the way down because I don't want it to interfere with the audio I'm going to add in the beginning of track 1. And I'm just going to pull one of these songs that sadly I can't hear, but they were chosen because lo-fi hip-hop is a pretty common type of music to be editing to. All right, I'm going to expand this track as well. All right, where my keyframe options are there. And I can see in the beginning my song really doesn't pick up until about the 4-second mark. And that's fine because this is just going to be a simple edit. So I'm going to bring this over here. And I'm going to add a keyframe here so that my music will fade in. And that's going to match really well with my video when I fade in my video. And keyframes for fading in your video work the same way. So if I were to take this clip and select it and have my tab pop up here, okay, I can add an effect, all right, which is a filter. And I don't want to do that yet, but I'll show you what that looks like in a sec. Okay, I can also make adjustments to that clip, which I will show you in a little bit as well. All right, the second option there is going to be your opacity line for keyframing opacity. And it works the same way as volume. And so if I were to add a keyframe here to match my volume, I'm going to bring my opacity down to 0% and then have it gradually get up to 100%. So that's going to look like this. And when my audio fades in on top of that, it's going to match really well together. I'm going to pause for a second and just jump over to the chat to see how everyone is doing. Ryan's joined us. That's awesome. Very cool. All right. And if you guys have questions along the way, need me to repeat something, by all means, let me know in the chat. I'll check periodically. Just, bear with me as there is some slight delay between what you guys are hearing and then me replying to your comments. So if you've got them, let me know. I'm very happy to answer those questions as we're making good progress here today. All right, so chat looks good. Ryan, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming. All right, I'm going to bounce back over to WeVideo and do a few more things. Now, my audio track, I'm going to lower my audio a little bit. All right, it'll play consistently there. And if my audio track is done, I'm going to collapse that track. I might get back to it later, but I don't like the space that it takes up, so I'm just going to minimize it so that I'm able to see more of the tracks. All right, because I'm going to add a track here on the top of video 2, but I'm going to call that one titles. All right, and it automatically drops down. I'm going to shrink it down. I'll get to it in a sec. I'm just going to leave video 2 open for a sec, and there's a reason for that, all right, which I'll get to in a little bit. You might be noticing at this point, if you get notifications, that the assignment I'm going to give in a little bit has probably posted, all right? You can check that. It's not going to make much sense. I'm going to go over it, so don't worry about that. So I would just say ignore it for now. I just wanted to make sure it was scheduled a little bit into class so that I can cover some of this stuff. Okay, so I've got my titles. I've got track 2. So I want to add a title now, all right? And I'm going to go up into my project menu here, and I'm going to go over to text. Now, as I showed last time, there are a lot of different options, okay, that you have for text. There are ones that include motion. There are ones that are simply static. There's some seasonal stuff. Callouts you probably won't use. Most of your time is going to be spent in either your motion or your static text. And I would argue that the less flashy your text is, the better, as drawing attention to a title in that way sometimes can be distracting. Now, for our practice project that we're going to assign later, this is your opportunity to kind of toy with some of that stuff that you might not traditionally use, and that's okay. And remember, if you don't know what a type of text or title does, if you select it once, all right, it will preview the text over in the preview program monitor. I like the one from the bottom. Let's go out with a, let's go in with a whisper, in with a whisper. And I'm going to add that to my timeline. I'm going to put it in my titles track because that's what I've dedicated that track for. Now, what you'll find with text is that they usually default to a set duration, okay? But the titles and text that have motion will have a minimum duration that they have to be in order for that text to be animated. So static text, I can make as short or as long as I want, all right? Motion text, I can only limit this to almost 3.5 seconds. That's as short as I can make that text so that it fully animates itself, okay? And because it does come in automatically, I don't need to add any sort of transitions to it, which is really, really nice. However, I do need to modify that text because my title is not in with a whisper. So I can either select my option here in the tab, the first option, all right, to open the clip editor, or I can just double click it, and that works too. Now I'm going to transform it. I don't need to in a second, but there's only so much you can edit with text. All right, its position in the frame, as well as, well, what it says in the font and the color. So I'm going to leave it white. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of text options to do, like drop shadows or outlines or things like that. So I'm going to leave my text white. If you drop the color palette down, you can see that much like Premiere, we've got the option to get close to a color, and then we can fine tune that color, all right, using your pixel palette over here. I'm going to stick with white, and we'll change the font in a sec. I'm just going to change the name here to boom, Good Vibes Only. I'll keep the font size the same. I'm going to adjust that in the next tab over. I find it's a little bit better that way. And let's find a font that kind of fits what we're going for here. I like this Oswald font a lot. All right, which you can tell makes it smaller. So I'm going to end up scaling this up over here, and I'm going to position it in the frame by just going over and grabbing it. And I'm going to move it right here. I don't like the way that the record cuts through the middle of the text. It makes it a little hard to read. So I'm going to move that up just a bit right there, and I'm going to save my changes down here in the bottom of my title edit. All right, so now that we've got that, all right, I'm going to go over to a transition so that I can add a transition from my opening shot to my second shot, all right? Because right now it just acts as a cut, right? It's going to go from record player to this band, and that's cool, but I like the association that a simple cross dissolve would have because it can insinuate that the music that we're hearing that's playing on the record is also being performed by the band. And we don't hear that band audio anymore because we lowered the volume in this clip. So again, just like text, if you forget what a transition does, if you click it once, it will show you in the preview monitor here. So if you wanted to say, oh yeah, no, puzzle would be a really cool transition. Oh wait, no, it's not. It's kind of atrocious. But there's a lot here to kind of play with and mess around with. I'm going to go with a simple cross dissolve, all right, or crossfade as they call it, and I'm going to add it down to those clips. You do need to make sure that it does go on that intersecting line between clips, and you will see there that it adds it and it breaks up those clips. So it gives you a really good visual indication as to where that transition is. And you can see that if you click on it, it defaults to a duration of 1 second. I think that's a little long, so I'm actually going to shorten that to 0.5. We're going to cut it in half. All right, and you'll see that that transition then changes. Of course, you can make it longer, but that's going to be dependent on your heads and tails, right? Your out point here and your in point there. So I'm just going to save this real quick, pause for a second, and go back to the chat. If you guys can give me an idea of if we're okay, if we're following along, if we're totally lost, if this makes any sense, or you're like, Mr. Leonard, this is so easy. Let me know in the chat. I would love to get some impression with where you are. Pause for a sec, just so I can stretch it out. And then I'm going to bounce back and do the last little bits. Actually, I'm probably going to pause and go over the project introduction and then go back and show the last little bits, just so I can put some of those things in context. Michael's good. Awesome. That's super, super, super exciting to hear. And I think part of the reason why this week is going so fast is that I was so thrilled yesterday and Monday to introduce this to you guys in my other classes, because it finally feels like we're getting back to what we should be doing, which is video production. All right, so if everyone else can just let me know how we're doing, I'm going to go to, for the time being, let me get it set up here, bounce back to my cam for a sec, hot sec, okay. So I can go full frame with the project. So this is the assignment that was posted on Classroom, and it's, honestly, I think it's the shortest project, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess project sheet, one sheet that I've ever given. It's barely half a page, and that's because I wanted to keep things simple using this platform. I said it last time, and I think it bears repeating. I know this is a new tool, and if it helps, I want you to think about taking your editing skills that you've learned in Premiere and carrying them over. This isn't necessarily learning something new. It's adapting to something different. The skill set's still the same. All right, your skills as an editor will carry over. It's just the tools and what we're clicking and how we're going about it is going to be a little bit different. So this project for some is going to seem so easy that you can probably take care of it in an hour. And some of you are going to go, all right, I've got to learn this new software and carry these things over, so it's going to take me a little bit of time to feel comfortable with it. And that's okay too. So let me just go down the project stipulations here. All right, this is posted on Classroom, so you'll see this there. Okay, so like I said at the beginning of class, the goal for this project is to have you guys have a better understanding of the WeVideo platform, get that practice, and then hopefully feel more comfortable and confident using it moving forward. As we're going to continue to move forward with it for the foreseeable future, I want to make sure that we can do a very simple edit. And yes, this edit is super simple, very reminiscent of things that we did in the beginning of the year, because I wanted to make sure you're comfortable with this before I start throwing in, all right, now there's shooting components that are added to the mix. Okay. And so we're going to be creating, using this footage that was given to you in this project, a 60 to 90 second edit. All right. More of a montage, okay, because these clips to some degree don't have any connection, but, you know, a good editor is going to kind of go through and figure out how some clips can best fit next to and connect to one another, right? Like our record player makes a really good visual connection to a band performing. They're both music related, okay? So there is some connection there. Those clips were not chosen at random, okay? So you're going to be using WeVideo and the clips that were provided in this project to create a 60 to 90 second edit. All right, you need to use every clip that's provided, all right, in addition to finding 3 clips of your own choosing in the stock media tab. Okay, I want you guys to get some experience just going through there, searching through things, finding things that you think are interesting, all right, that you can then add to the mix. All right, that's going to make for 25 clips total in your edit. All right, there needs to be an opening title, like I just demonstrated in that opening that we put together. Please try and give it an original title, all right? If it's just like Michael Cassiano's practice edit, like it is suitable, but not super interesting. So we need to have that. So that one use of text is needed, okay? And there needs to be closing credits as well. So there is some credit options in there. You can keep it simple. You can go as complex as you want. All right, but that's going to enforce that we've got a title in the beginning and credits at the end. You need to use at least 5 different transitions other than cuts, okay? At least 5. If you want to use more, go for more. This will be an opportunity to kind of experiment and play with some of those transitions that in a narrative context you might not ever use because they're just kind of weird and a little commercially and maybe great for like, you know, a promo or something, but not great for a story. You need to use 2 different pieces of audio mixed correctly. Now, I provided 2 for you in this project. That's not to say that you have to use either of those 2 if you want to find your own music. All right. And again, it's not the stock tab. It's going to be the audio tab. There's some music there, and I'll show you again in WeVideo that's provided to you from WeVideo that you can use, all right, in your project. So if you don't like what I put in there, throw something else in there. If you have music on Google Drive and you want to bring it into the project, I can show you how to do that too. Like you might have your own songs you want to put in. That's perfectly fine. I just figured I'd simplify it by providing 1 or 2 things and then opting to give you the ability to find stuff in that music tab. Or audio tab, I'm sorry. Okay. You need to use the FX tab on at least 2 clips. I'm going to show that. And then you need to have at least 1 picture in picture. And I'm going to show what that looks like too. That's the reason why I left my video 2 track open. Okay. Finally, once I get through those last few things, I'm going to show you guys very quickly how to export to Google Drive. All right. And then show you how easy it is to turn it in on Classroom. So I'm going to bounce back to me and then go back to the chat here. All right. Does anyone have any questions on that assignment? Stretching out the back. Okay. Before I get back into WeVideo, if you do, throw them in the chat, and I'm going to revisit that in just a sec. Okay, so picking up where we left off here, I've added the transition, and now we're going to shrink this down just so we can see everything start to finish. All right, so my video very simply just looks like this. All right, cool. Now I don't like the way that that text just kind of cut out there. So do I need to make that longer? And if so, we'll make some adjustments. It's very possible. It just, yeah. So that text, interesting. That's fine, because you know what we're going to do? We're just going to add a transition to the end of it. No, we can't, because it's a motion text. Take that back. Wow, that is some long text. I'm not a fan. Okay, well maybe it just cuts out like that. Good to know. Won't use it again. That's fine. All right, so let's continue this trend of looking for music, looking for clips. So if I go back to my media and my project media is there, I don't know. I know, well, we got band. Well, then why not have someone dancing? And we're going to take Hip Hop Santa here, and we're going to trim him down just a little bit so we get some good hips and hops, and then we're going to add that to our timeline. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to cut from one clip to the other. So we go from singing to Hip Hop Santa. All right, now I don't have any other clips of anything music related. All right, so this could be a good opportunity then to go into my stock media and see what I can find. What if I just type in dancing? All right, I'm going to take my favorite clip. Actually, I'm going to favorite it because it's ridiculous. Okay, and the name of this clip is also ridiculous. It's just this dude, like, dancing at work, I guess, in the worst possible way. I kind of feel bad for him. This is what actors do when they're trying to get their break. They just do stock video shoots like this. So that's cool. All right, we're going to take this. We're going to put this really cool guy in here. And we're going to trim down some of it right there. That's fine. That's a healthy chunk. And if I need to adjust, I can always adjust on my timeline. If I'm going to bring this down, and look, so it is a little bit longer than my Hip Hop Santa. That's fine. We're going to just trim that down there so that they're the same length. Now, when it cuts to both, just like Premiere, it's only going to show the one on top. So I need to modify that clip. And I can do that if I just double clicking it, or I can go to the pencil here in the front, all right, which is going to allow me to add some modifications. All right, if I need to do a picture-in-picture, let's say, then I'm going to scale that down so that it fits within that picture. Well, fits within the other picture. Of course, I can move it now and put it where I need it to go, and I'm just going to put it off to the side here. And if you want to flip it, sure, why not? Because there's nothing that will indicate that it's backwards. And I'm going to add a transition to it. Why not? And let's add a funky transition. Rainbow? Man, they're so bad looking. Ooh, a film strip transition. Why are they also horrific? They just be that way sometimes, I guess. Mosaic, that's the one. That looks all perfect. So let's add mosaic to the beginning of that. So now we can transition. Oh, that's atrocious. That's so bad. But here we go. Now they're dancing together. And we can move on from there. Now, let's say I wanted to make adjustments to some clips, and this is where you can use that FX tab. All right, now you can modify the clips a little bit more to your liking as well. If you go back to that pencil, all right, you can adjust things up top here. You'll notice that there are more options. All right, you can transform it like we did. You can adjust the audio here as well. Okay, you can animate things, which I have not had a lot of luck in doing because I don't feel like it is super conducive as to what it is it's offering to do. All right, you can also adjust the way that the picture itself looks. So this picture, for example, if I wanted to, say, increase the saturation, I'm going to do that a little bit because this is a really colorful clip and I want those colors to pop. You can bring the contrast up too, even the brightness if you want to. You can tweak with all of these things. All right, you can remove a color if you want a key. I don't have any green screen clips here, so I didn't put that, use that as an option. You can adjust the speed too, which is very finicky, and so I haven't found a need to use it yet. I'm sure if I do, I'll tinker with it, but sometimes it can be a little confusing. Once I have those things changed, I'm going to save it. All right, and you can see those colors are a little bit more vibrant now. All right, but if we go back to, let's go back to our record player. All right, because one of the project requirements is that we use the FX tab, which is located right here once I select that clip. And I'm going to select it, and it takes me to these options to select filters. And that's what I'm going to do. And if you hover over each one, the window in the right over here will preview what that looks like. So maybe this one, I just want to very simply make black and white, and I'm going to apply it. All right, so now my record player looks kind of cooler. We go from black and white to this really big color splash, which maybe will sync with the music. I don't know. I can't hear the music. And then we've got old Santa and silly white guy dancing. Whoopsie daisy. Used to my Premiere shortcuts trying to shrink the screen. All right. And that's a really simple way to do some very basic editing. And that took us... Where are we in our timeline here? That's 13 seconds worth of footage. So for your project, I'm asking 60 to 90. And you can do the math. That's going to be roughly 2 to 3 seconds per shot. All right. And the reason for that is that I wanted to give you guys some wiggle room, but also put you in a position where you're able to trim your in points and out points on each one. Okay. Because if you just drop every clip in the timeline without making any adjustments, some of these clips are 14, 15, 20 seconds long. You're going to hit that 60 to 90 seconds real quick. And so it's more about, again, being familiar and comfortable with the software. But in a nutshell, that's just about everything that the software can do. And so the project is set up to allow you to experiment and play around with those things so that as we move into bigger projects in the future, that you'll be comfortable knowing that, okay, when I sit down to edit this, you know how to use this software and achieve the look that you want to achieve. So I'm going to go over exporting. I'm just going to check the chat real quick. Ryan's in there. Ryan. Ryan, messing up is 1,000% okay. Of course, it needs to be, right? There's absolutely no shame in messing up. And the beauty in this is that you're going to learn a lot more from those mess ups because we make a mistake. You're going to go, wait, what did I do? What caused that? You're going to identify it. And then you go, okay, I know next time that I won't be able to do this. And so this isn't something that, of course, you're going to immediately know and click and register until you get your hands in there and get to play with some things. So while we may, I'm going to formally wrap class in a little bit, but I'll hang back for our time together if people want to play around with stuff and ask questions while they're working, okay? The last little thing I wanted to show you, and Luke says he's good, but if you've got questions or things, please, of course, let me know, okay? Once you have finished, your video's done, donezo, it's super simple, all right, to get this out of WeVideo. You're going to go up in the upper right-hand corner, big blue button that says Finish, all right? There are not a lot of options here, and that is great. It is what it is. For us, it's going to be perfect, all right? Premiere gives you 1,000 different things and formats and ways you can tweak and change on the export, and that's great. And for most of what we do in school, we didn't need to use most of those anyway. Heck, even at home when I do things personally, there's only so many of those things that I use, but there's different options there depending on where your output's going to be and what you shot with and all that jazz. WeVideo simplifies that a lot. Okay, so the title that we've already given this project is here, and if you haven't changed it yet, there's a chance to change it on the export. Okay, you of course want to make sure that you've got video and audio. You can do audio only if, say, you were recording this and you wanted to export the audio to use as a podcast. This can make for a really great recording app that you can do that with, so you can export audio only. I just want both, all right? But you want to make sure that you change your resolution to HD. We want it to be in high definition, not standard definition, all right? So the bigger the number, the higher the res, the nicer it's going to look. And down at the bottom, you're going to have some options for destination. All right, now you might have a little bit less. I checked off some things that won't show on your end, but the most notable one that you need to go to, okay, is your Google Drive. Now, there are options for thumbnails, so it only gives you 3. I would just choose the most interesting looking one that you can and use that as your thumbnail. It doesn't really matter so much when you turn it in. You're going to select Google Drive. Now, I'm not going to hit export because it will export again, and that counts against my usage cap for our class, and so I don't want to do that. But if you hit export, it's basically going to pop up and saying, hey, we're prepping your video for export, at which point, walk away, take a break, all right? Come back in a little bit. And so if I go over to, I'm just going to go to my Google Drive here. I was already in it, but I'll show you, okay? So in your Google Drive, when you export, all right, WeVideo is going to make a folder for itself, simply called WeVideo, which means if you can't find it, search for it. All right, and when you double click that, and there's mine from yesterday, I'm going to delete it because it's nothing. All right, it's going to put your video into this folder. All right, now that folder is not inherently shared with me. However, now that you have a WeVideo folder on your Google Drive, you can go over to your classroom. Scheduled for tomorrow. My fault. Let's just put that out there now. Really? I can't change it to just now? That's funny. Well, then I stand corrected. Assign it. Assign. All right, so the PDF that's in there is very simply this prompt. All right, which I went over. And so when you go to your assignment and you go to turn things in, you can select file from Drive, go to that WeVideo folder, select the video, and then turn in that video. All right, it's what I'm having my class do for the morning show. They're turning in video assignments via Google Drive, so there hasn't been any issues with it. And because it's organized on Drive, it's really easy to find. All right, it's also super nice because then it puts all those projects in one spot for me, where then I can go through and watch and grade and all that fun jazz. All right, so that's getting it out of WeVideo. All right, just the last thing to keep in mind as a refresher. I can go into projects here, I'm sorry. 3B practice video. Okay, so just as a reminder, this is not sneaky, but full transparency. So like right now, I can see that Luke and Emily and Dan are in the project, all right? And it lets me know when the last time they had worked on it, all right? I can actually unlock and get into the projects themselves. So I can see progress, all right? But what we're gonna do, all right, in the interest of making sure that you guys feel comfortable with this, I kind of wrestled with the due date as to when I wanted this due. And I honestly think that if this were like a class assignment, I would say, all right, hey, we've got 40 minutes today. It's due at the end of next class. That's plenty of time because you guys are experienced, all right? I know you haven't used this before, but you are experienced editors, and a 60 to 90 second edit is not super complex. However, all right, I wanted to have the understanding that this is the first time using this. All right, you're going to be on your own to some degree. Okay, so that's the one thing I, of course, didn't do. Silly me, because I got the date wrong. Oh no, I actually got that part correct. All right, so I got the schedule date wrong. I got the due date correct. This project for us is going to be due how do I have it? Start of class. Sorry, the start of class on Tuesday. What that's going to allow for us to do on Friday is I'm going to host a stream again. Okay, if you feel comfortable enough with the software, feel free to come to the stream, leave me a note in the chat. Hey, Mr. Leonard, I'm good. I'm going to go get to work on stuff. Use that time to get this edit started or finished, or at least make some progress on it. But I want to be there to kind of have that as a troubleshooting question and answer session for folks that are working. All right, so I will be there over the course of the day for folks to pop in and ask questions, get some help, get some feedback and stuff. So I want to at least give that to you. So Friday's meet, all right, is going to be a little bit less structured if you're okay. I would still like you to let me know that you're doing all right. And as you know, there are some people that are not in class here today, which is going to be super problematic, because now if they didn't come today or last class, they've got some videos to catch up on, because getting into this for the first time is going to be very confusing. So if you are friends with people in class and they're not here right now, I'm just asking you to, hey, send them a text message or something. Hey, Mr. Leonard's moving ahead with video stuff. Don't get behind, because you're going to get screwed. We don't want that to happen. All right. I just also want it to be known that yet again, we are being asked, or at least I am being asked by my supervisor, for a list of names of people who have not been coming to class, so that it's documented that they're not coming to class, or turning work in for that matter. So I'm really appreciative that you guys were here last class and today, and have been, because it's not falling on deaf eyes. The people that are checking in every class, I'm seeing the familiar names, and thank you so much for making the effort and staying on top of this the best that you can. So I'm going to hang for 5 or 6 minutes. If you feel comfortable, want to go. All right, we'll check in very quickly on Friday, but I'm going to be open for our hour together to answer any questions you have. All right, I might switch to Zoom for that day, if only so people can come in and go as they please, and it'll make the network strain a little bit less taxing, as YouTube can sometimes be finicky when you have streams that go for 4 hours. Otherwise, I'll do a 4-hour stream all day. I don't really care. So if you feel comfortable and good, feel free to head on out. I'm going to stay for the next 5 minutes to answer questions. If people are playing around or want to address something with me, they're more than welcome to. All right, and then we'll meet again on Friday for a quick check-in, or to stay for a Q&A and a little bit more hands-on help and time as well. All right, and if someone comes in and they weren't here, I might go over some stuff again. So if you want a refresher, I can do that on Friday as well. All right, and then we're going to aim to have this done by the start of class on Tuesday. All right, so we can kind of discuss, and then we're going to move on to what will eventually be our next shooting project that we now have the ability to edit at home. So that's going to be really cool. All right, I will talk to you all later. I'm going to turn my mic off, but I'll be here for the next few minutes. If you have questions, ask away. Otherwise, I will see you on Friday. All right. Adios, gang.